afternoon. How you doing today? I hope you're doing okay. I had a bit of a rough start, I would say. Had a little trouble sleeping last night. We'll talk about that in a minute. Once I was gone, but I just kind of had stuff on my mind, so it was difficult for me to get to sleep. But before we get to that, just kind of today on our National Day calendar, there were so many things that it is a National Day of celebration for. I decided to just pull out a few that were really important or meaningful to me. And one is today is Armed Forces Day. And it's unfortunate that we have to celebrate something we really wish didn't have to exist because, if there is war, then we need military. So ever since I was a very little girl, I've been praying. Every time, you know how people pray when they see a star, starlight, star bright. First star I see tonight. I wish I may, I wish I might have the wish I wish tonight. And every time I've said that, ever since I was very young, was world peace. And I still believe it's a possibility. I don't care what other people believe. I believe peace is a possibility. So today we do celebrate, though, our armed forces who are committed to keeping us safe and putting their life on the line for it. It's also Do Something Good for a Neighbor Day. Now, that ought to make you feel good. What do you think you could do for a neighbor? I'm going to have some fun planning that. It is barbecue day, and I know they were talking on Facebook recently about having a neighborhood barbecue. Everybody stays in their own yard, but you move that barbecue grill from the back porch up to the front yard. And, I think that's important. We can be separate by space, but we can certainly still be one in spirit because that's the truth of our being. And the last one that I'm going to point out for today, and do go to the National Day calendar because you'll see there's a whole bunch of them, but the last one is it's Biographers Day. And, in my reading, I will usually choose to read a biography, probably as a first choice of the many we have, because I love biographies. I think people's lives are as fascinating, if not more so, than some of the novels that we come up with. Hey, and I write novels, so, but I've always been very inspired by biographies. Some of the biographies that inspired me the most were, of course, the Diary of Anne Frank, and it was the biography of Joe E. Brown. You would have to look that up if you're on the younger side, and because he was back actually from the 40s and 50s, and he was a comedian, and he had this huge mouth, and he was always going with this huge mouth, but he was very funny. But his biography was stunning because he was like an orphan, and he literally wound up being sent to the circus when he was young. A family kind of took him in, and they taught him on the trapeze. Well, that ought to ring a bell because the other day I talked about a dream when I was small of being a trapeze artist. Never happened. But the man in the family who was his adoptive father would be the one that would catch him when he would swing on the trapeze. And if he wasn't absolutely perfect, his stepfather or his adoptive father who caught him would slam his ankles together like that because, to tell him, you better be better than that because you could die if you fall. Well, that's a pretty harsh story, but to think that he'd been through so much and turned out to be such a wonderful comedian. And it reminds us that sometimes it's our ability to laugh at our circumstances that helps to get us through the difficult times. And that's the essence of metaphysics, where your mind goes, energy flows, and manifestation follows. think about that. So today I'm wearing my Golden Nugget shirt. My friend Kim bought it for me. And one of the reasons that I wanted to wear this today is because a Golden Nugget is a casino. And you know, life can be a gamble, but it kind of depends on how we choose to live it. And that brings us to the title of today's visit. What exactly are you thinking? Well, I heard that many times. It was either that version or the other version. What exactly do you think you're doing? Well, you can probably guess. I heard it from my mother. It's amazing how many things I say my mother said. But you know what I realized is how often are we not thinking about what we're thinking? And how many decisions have we made? And how many life choices when we weren't really thinking about what we were thinking on the big, in the big picture. So I think it would probably be a good idea for us to think about that right now, especially because I don't know about you. I can only talk for me. For me, when I get up every day, and like I say, I check the news twice a day, morning and night. I may pop in and check and see what's going on, you know, in the middle of the day. I keep looking for them to say, you know, oh, it's over, coronavirus going, instead of getting a gut punch by that or other news that can tend to be very frustrating. So it's so important, especially if we hear something negative, to take our thinking and instead of latching onto it and thinking how terrible that is and how awful it is, which it is, okay? Not denying that something might be terrible or awful, but I'm not giving my life to it. I'm not going to invest all of my thinking with it. And it's with great effort that I have to pull myself out of it a lot, you know, because there's so much, it seems overwhelming. And you know, it seems like every day I say, dear God, just a little good news today, more good news. I sure could use some good news. And then, of course, we have to look for that good news. Chances are it's not going to jump up and bite us on the nose because other news tends to be more urgent or sensational or compelling, I might say. So I think it's really important that we have to think about what we are thinking at any given time. And, you know, I was thinking about using this is one reason, by the way, that prayer and meditation time is so important every day. Doesn't matter how much time you take. You know, sometimes when I say that, I feel like, and that's probably just my feelings, I feel like you're saying, oh God, she's going into that pray and meditate thing again. But it's like wanting to give you an amazing gift. Time. Turn off the world and focus on something higher. That's where the brilliance is. That's where the ingenuity is. That's where the genius is. So if we take time every day, best thing, first thing in the morning, before any news or anything, so you can set yourself up, so you can be strong and ready to hear whatever the daily news or whatever might bring you to it. You know, we pick on the news a lot, you know, and a lot of people watch news way too much, and a lot of people judge news. But it's like anything else. If we judge news without checking to see what its purpose is and what benefit it has for us and whether or not what we're hearing is true, if we're doing that, you know what that's called, don't you? Prejudice. Are we prejudiced regarding our news? Most of us would like to say, oh, no, 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 you know. But especially today, the news the reporting, all that stuff is the journalists are they're getting terrible feedback from a lot of people. And there is that temptation where the news wants to be sensationalist. On the other hand, people want to know. But what we want to know is that what we are learning is good and true and positive. So I was thinking about when you're told, I don't know, I guess we learn this when we're in 5th grade, 6th grade. Are we smarter than a 5th grader? We are taught about the way to write something, a sentence, who, what, when, why, where, or how. So if the focus for today is what exactly are you thinking? What are you thinking? Are you thinking, oh, that's terrible news? Are you sure it's terrible news? Have you checked to make sure it's terrible news? Is that the do-all, end-all of the news? Or can we look higher? Can we think up higher and say, is there something positive in that? You know, even awareness, just awareness is positive, because if we're not aware, we can't change anything anyway. You know, that's something that bothers me a lot, is a lot of folks who just really are uninformed, and that's sad. And it's easier to be uninformed. It's safer. We're going to put our little blinders on and go through our day and just ignore. But we can't change what we don't acknowledge. So we have to acknowledge something. So what are you thinking? I'd like to kind of focus this, just because it's so easy, because it's in the front of everybody's minds, on masks. So what are you thinking about? I'm thinking about those masks, and they can be uncomfortable, and they get all sweaty inside when you have them on, you know, and I look funny in a mask. Well, that's all, yeah, that's ego stuff, it's human stuff, it's comfort, discomfort stuff. So what are we talking about? We're talking about a mask, okay. And so then we're talking about who would wear a mask? Well, we're all being called to wear masks under certain circumstances. And that's an important part, under certain circumstances. There is a purpose, okay? So who should wear a mask? Everybody. What should they wear? A mask. Why should they wear the mask? First of all, to protect themselves, also to protect others. So there is a reason. So then we say, is that a valid reason, or is that a made-up reason? You know, we are so inundated with conspiracy theories today. It's hard to know what. Well, no, take that back. I was going to say it's hard to know, but it's really not hard to know. If you can type Google and you can type what is, or, you know, a couple of keywords, you can get the answer to anything you want. So it's might I say, time-taking. It's time-taking to get the truth, but it's easy enough. So then where? You know, where do we have to wear this mask? In public. You don't have to be around your house. You know, you don't have to have one on around the house. I mean, you're in the house with those people. Anything that those people in that house with you have got, chances are you're going to have. Unless you were in isolation at some point. And then how? So how do we use it? We use it when we're in a circumstance that we need it. And when we don't need it, mine is sitting right by the door, where if I'm going to go out, I can pop it right on. This is not a forever thing. Now, if we take this to another step, we want to be very conscious of our thoughts. That's why when I said, you know, what exactly are you thinking? Well, when my mother would say that to me, I would go, huh? And I'd have to explain what I was thinking or the rationale behind what I was doing. We really, really tend not to give that as much thought as we should, especially if we're down in our human level of awareness. If we're looking at this through the eyes of ego, through the eyes of the carnal little self, we're going to see it very different than if we're looking at it through the eyes of spirit, which is where we want to be looking, looking at it. Boy, if I had a nickel for every time I let my little self, my human part, do all the thinking, boy, I could have avoided a lot of mistakes if I paid attention to what was I thinking. We want to be very conscious of our thoughts. Where are they coming from? Are they coming from something higher? Are they coming from something lower? My little story about the pizza the other day. Where was the thought coming that I needed to have more when I knew I had eaten sufficiently? That didn't come from the part of me that's very spiritually mature and knows, no, you don't need that. That is just, that's just your human, that's your taste buds. And hey, is it my fault I made such good pizza? But it still wasn't the wise thing to do. And that's where we have to learn the self-discipline to not let our lower self do the thinking for us. There is I don't know what it is. It's on a show or something, and it's called Freeze Frame. And was it a TV show? And all of a sudden they'd go freeze frame and they'd think about it. Man, wouldn't it be nice to have freeze frame in our life? We're ready to make a bad decision or something, and all of a sudden, freeze frame, let me rethink that. Well, we don't need freeze frame because we have that inside. When we were talking about our spiritual center, our gut, which if we say gut, we're thinking here, and that's right between the wisdom center, the faculty, the spiritual faculty of wisdom, and the spiritual faculty of divine order. So like when we are about to do something or say something that isn't smart, we're getting that message. We get that, ooh, and then the battle begins to override. What's going to override? Am I going to let spirit take over and make a healthy, a right choice, or am I going to let my little self? This is very important when it comes to things like gossip. Now, I do my best not to gossip. If anybody ever catches me gossiping, please stop me, because I try not to ever do it because it can be painful. But I can look back 35, 40 years, and before I had my real spiritual awakening, and I didn't want to talk about other people, but ooh, you'd have this juicy tidbit and you couldn't wait to share it. Everybody wants to be the person that knows what's going on, and it's not the way to go, right? It's just not. But as I spent more time working on spiritual growth, the thought of gossiping about someone is actually painful to me, because I can feel how they would feel if I did that. I hope you're getting what I'm trying to say about the battle that goes on between our higher and lower consciousness. Okay, so if we take our thoughts and do that, if we're able to stop ourselves when we see ourselves slipping into lower consciousness and turn it up, you can hear my mom's voice in your head, only it'll sound like my voice, saying, what exactly are you thinking? You're online and this ad pops up for something that seems mighty interesting. Do I really need this? Do I really want this? Is this really a good use of my money? And then you do the 3-day thing. You wait 3 days, and if you still want it, maybe you'll get it, maybe not. it's very important to not blink. To blink is to take our eyes off of the truth. And right now, I'm going to be very honest with you, and I'm going to ask your indulgence. This is my thoughts. It's my, I'm not telling you to think the way I think. But the reason that I had difficulty getting to sleep last night is the what appeared to me some really questionable thinking when I heard the words that the testing was really ineffective or unnecessary or unimportant, because if we have most cases in the world of the COVID virus because we're testing more. So we have more cases because we're testing more. But if we don't test so much, we wouldn't have so many. And I'm sorry, but that is really, really a time when I would wish I had the power to say, what exactly are you thinking? Because if you can hear those words and pull something positive out of it, please let me know, because there is no way that is truth. The testing is effective and we need it. So we have to think, who is the testing for? It's for all of us. What is it for? To figure out who's safe and how to be safe and how to help those get a jump on taking care of the problem if they have it, and to keep others from getting it. There's no way around that fact. So as we move through days of hearing challenging things and making important decisions, I want to encourage you from the bottom of my heart. Ask yourself, what exactly am I thinking? Who is doing this thinking? Is it the true me, the real me, or is it my ego? Is it my lower nature? Your ego's not bad. Your carnal nature's not bad. It just needs a good driver. And that driver is the part of you that is a master, a spiritual master that knows good and truth and knows how to follow it. And if you're doubting whether to do something or not, I'm going to send you back to the Big Ten, which is the 10 Commandments, which to me are 10 amazing principles to make right decisions, and the other one, the super 2, love God, love your neighbor, love yourself. Know, love, and serve God and your neighbor. Okay? So think on those things, and I have to keep trying to remind myself, no matter what it looks like, God is in charge. Because I know that's true. I know spiritual principle works, and it's working whether we are acknowledging it and experiencing it or not. It is working at a level greater than we can see. So, how are you going to celebrate your day? What good are you going to do for your neighbor? How are you going to drive your thoughts instead of being driven around by them? If you think about it like a horse, horse dragging you around because you fell off of the saddle and you're caught in the stirrup, or are you sitting high and proud on the horse, being your carnal nature and having it take you where you want to go? I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much for being with me. If you tuned in late, know that you can just wait a minute and watch it from the beginning, or when I post the YouTube version, you can check that out. Have a great day. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and know that I behold the divinity in you. God bless.